When applying outside corners, wrap one side at a time. Using the base of the countertop as a guide, trim away any excess from the bottom. Next, using a fresh sharp blade, trim the corner to the edge of the countertop. Use a sponge and a roller to bend the second side around the bullnose. Then, with a fresh blade, carefully trim away the overlap using a slicing motion. Finally, use your sponge to soften the product and use your fingers to press and secure the weathered stone to the corner. The exposed backing and cut marks will become invisible once the grout is applied. For inside corners, simply trim and remove any excess. Then, using the bottom of the countertop as a guide, trim away any overlap. When installing your second piece, it will overlap the first. Use your finger to find the edge and then a roller to define the edge of the piece that's underneath. You can now use a guide and a cutting knife to trim away the excess. Push your straight edge tight to the lip that you've created with the roller. This will ensure a tight seam between the two pieces. Make sure to wipe away any excess adhesive and roll the seam, making sure the two pieces are tight and secure. We have left the 2-inch overlap covering the opening where the sink will go. You will need to trim this away using a fresh blade. To conserve on material, we're using thin strips for the front and the back of the sink opening. This will give us 2 seams on either side of the sink. Cutting around the opening for the stove is a little bit different than a standard outside corner. One side is a 90-degree angle. First wrap the bullnose, then let the product wrap around the 90-degree angle. Make sure to use a wet sponge to pat the edge and roll down the angle. This will create small hairline cracks that will fill in with the grout. Using a sharp blade, trim away all excess from the front and the side. Make sure to secure the piece using a sponge and your fingers. All exposed material and cracks will fill in with the grout. Here we are the following day and we're ready to apply our grout. There's a few things that need to take place before you do so. First, you'll need to remove any loose strings that may be hanging out, and also you'll want to apply blue tape against the walls adjacent to the areas where you have the weathered stone installed. Use a tile grouter's float with a foam core and rubber base to apply the grout to the seams along the flat surfaces. For inside corners, use your hand to apply the grout. Keep your float at a tall angle to remove as much excess grout as possible before wiping. Using a grout sponge, remove any residual grout that's left on the surface. On outside corners, it's most efficient to apply the grout using your hand. And make sure to use very light pressure when wiping away the residual grout. You may need to clean your sponge and wipe a second time. For countertops and floors, weathered stone will require 1 coat of clear primer and at least 2 coats of the weathered stone super sealer. All of these coatings are waterborne. It can be poured on and spread with a brush, roller, or a trowel. Allow the clear sealers to dry between coats, typically about an hour or 2. Pay close attention to the edges and make sure to cover all the grout. The sealers are self-leveling, but a final smoothing coat is required to make sure to get good, even coverage.